So I'm going to play that clip towards the end of the movie with Don and Mike as they're transitioning.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're in the garden. He's telling him 100 times, whoever comes to you for the meeting is going to be the one who's the traitor. But the words, what's more, the words of the father to the son, sort of a final blessing, because this is the final interaction we see between these two men. The passing of the torch, based on the line from the book I read a little earlier. But I think it summarizes what we've been talking about this far.
What's the matter? What's bothering you? I'll handle it. I told you I can handle it. I'll handle it.
I knew that Santino was gonna have to go through all this. And Fredo was, and I never wanted this for you. I worked my whole life. I don't apologize to take care of my family. And I refused to be a fool. Dancing on the string held by all those big shots. I don't apologize, that's my life, but I thought that when it was your time that you would be the one to hold the strings. Senator Corleone, Governor Corleone, something.
Another Pesanovanta.
Oh. This wasn't enough time, Michael. Wasn't enough time.
We'll get there, Pop. We'll get there.
Because we talk about submitting ourselves to God, which feels like being a puppet on a string, which does not really correlate with what Paul said. It is for freedom that we've been set free. How free is it to dance along to somebody's strings? You know, if I don't want to be a Pinocchio. Unless you're Brit and we're doing our third anniversary show. But this idea, like, when we relinquish the control to God, what we find is there are no strings to hold us down. We find that a greater freedom, because what does Michael experience but greater and greater slavery?
Mm-hmm.
The more he thinks he's holding the strings, the more, in fact, he's in bondage.
Good.
And I said there was a question, but it's just a thought that I'm like, okay, you guys kind of, what is your reaction to that?
Yeah, I think it's the what we think is freedom, right? What we think is freedom actually is, to your point, right, is what binds us. And as we think of, you know, submitting to Christ and giving our authority over to him, you know, what we consider to be our authority, that's not, but giving that over to him, we do gain a freedom that we can't understand, that we can't ever really fathom as we're living in sin to the world and not knowing Christ. And I think there's a beauty in submission, and there's a beauty in submitting, understanding that, you know, there's a guardrails is the wrong word, right? But there's freedom in structure. There's freedom in the grace. There's freedom in his framework. Yeah, there's freedom in knowing that you're always loved, knowing that you're always accepted and cared for and forgiven, no matter how terribly we screw up, as long as we're continually willing to come to him and lay ourselves bare and give up every day, give up our control, our power, you know, we don't really have any. So we're not really giving it any of it up, but we feel like we have it, and it's giving that up and relinquishing it to him is what really brings us that true freedom.